If you want to stay up to date with all current hip-hop events and releases, make sure to subscribe and become part of this community. Oh, and also, go cop that fresh merch and listen to my new album in the description. Okay, so y'all probably all remember Silk Sonic, the Bruno Mars, Anderson .Paak R&B duo that made some waves earlier on this year when they dropped their now somewhat of a hit single, Leave the Door Open. Man, I've heard that song played so many times that it's just stuck in my head. And then also later on in the year, they released Skate not too long ago actually, which served as the second single leading up to their release, An Evening with Silk Sonic, that they announced even before or right around when Leave the Door Open dropped. And they announced that they were doing this thing together, that the two were now a duo. They also have Bootsy Collins in here, a legend, also executive producing the album or somewhat being involved with it. I think he's featured as an artist on here, but will probably, serve as the role of an executive producer or a creative director or something like that when it comes to this album. Maybe we'll see some influence from him, which would be really cool. And I love that they, take on such a legend like him to also be a part of this album, because together Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak, of course, have a huge commercial audience that they can reach. And we saw this happen with Leave the Door Open when that got really, really successful being played. Also, Skate did pretty well, not as well as Leave the Door Open, of course, but still, it was a really good song. We can kind of see where they're going stylistically from these first two singles. Also, if I remember correctly, we also got an intro to the album, the Silk Sonic intro, which it's not like a real full track, but still another tastemaker for what's to come on this project. But so far, we really didn't know when we were gonna get this album. We thought originally in the summer, and I think that even back when Leave the Door Open dropped, Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak confirmed that it would drop in the summer. It would have made a lot of sense. The songs are really like a bright spirit, people just being happy. It would have been the perfect soundtrack for the first summer again after last year kind of got restricted through the pandemic. So they could have been really like a big hit in the summer with exactly that type of music, but they kind of missed out on it. Maybe the album wasn't done. Maybe they just weren't satisfied with it. Whatever the reason might be, we didn't know what was up with the album until they did a Rolling Stones interview back in August. I covered that back when it happened. I think they were the cover for that month's Rolling Stone magazine, and they also, of course, gave a pretty extensive and in-depth interview into their creative process, how it feels like working with each other, and also about the release of this new album, because obviously that is what fans care about the most. And in that interview, they talked about this album, An Evening with Silk Sonic, not even dropping this year still, after we all thought we were going to get it in the summer. And they talked about a possible January release date, so 2022. This wasn't specifically mentioned in that interview, but later on everybody was talking about that. So there was some source, I think Bruno said it somewhere in some tweet, that they were going to drop this in January, that was the point in time when they would be finished and satisfied with dropping this record. But that just got changed because we got an official announcement from the two. Bruno Mars and I think also Anderson .Paak took to social media. He said Silk Sonic album out November 12th, and in the picture they posted with it, we can see him, Anderson .Paak, and Bootsy Collins kind of like, gearing up for the release of the album. He tagged the two as well. So this is the official announcement. We're gonna get this thing in about 4 weeks on a Friday, of course, November 11th. That is the official release date for An Evening with Silk Sonic. This kind of comes as a surprise. As I said just 2 months ago, they said that it was not gonna drop this year. It will be January of next year. So we were all in my head, I kind of had written it off like, yo, we're not gonna worry about this album still this year. I wasn't planning on making any videos on this until we got closer to the release date for it, because then the hype would start to build up again. But now that they announced this thing for November, this kind of changes up the whole momentum of this, because that, as I said, is just in about 4 weeks, or actually a little less than 4 weeks. release. There are, of course, a lot of, big question marks just out there as to, if we're going to get another single for this. If the 2 singles we got, or the 2.5 counting that intro, we got Leave the Door Open and Skate. Skate didn't perform as well as Leave the Door Open, so maybe they're going to try to come back with a 3rd single that they think is going to perform better, maybe with like a high profile feature on there, to get momentum rolling again for this thing. Maybe they're going to try to push Leave the Door Open a little more just before the release in about 2 weeks, I would guess, that we're maybe getting another single or another promotional push for this, because the momentum and the energy and the wave that they had going after Leave the Door Open dropped was really huge, and they could have easily dropped the album back then and gotten a huge commercial success out of it and a huge impact. But of course, back then the album wasn't ready. But I'm just saying, like, that momentum that they had, they're probably going to try to recreate sometime before this album drops. We also don't know anything more about this thing other than the cover art, because the singles so far have the cover art for the album, which I usually like to see. That means that it's all in like a cohesive, structured matter, that is not like, oh, I released this single, but it's kind of like out there, not really connected to the album. So we see that they had the idea of the album and the tracks before they made the individual tracks, which I always like to see. Of course, you could have gotten a little bit more creative with the cover art, but I'm cool with that. That's such a minor thing. And we don't know anything about the track list. That is still like a big question mark as well. We don't know anything about the features. We only know Bruno Mars, Anderson .Paak, Bootsy Collins on the songs we got so far, on the live performances and the stuff that they talked about on interviews. It is just the 2 of them, the 3 of them basically, but I do think that we are gonna get some features on there. It would just make sense for them to, get like a popping artist on here, maybe like a hip-hop R&B type of artist, to also, be featured on this record, to further expand the reach of this thing and to get people more interested in it, because this is a very special project. I love that the 2 of them are collaborating. I think the style that they previewed on the first 2 tracks is amazing, and I would really love to see more of that. And I hope that what we still get to hear on the full album is still in addition to what we got from the first 2 Tastemakers with the singles that I mentioned a couple of times now. So yeah, that is what we know about Silk Sonic's album, An Evening with Silk Sonic. Bruno Mars just confirmed that it's coming out November 12th, which is way earlier than I thought it would be. I thought it would be January, and even then I thought it would be pushed back a couple of months still. But November 12th is now the official release date for this thing. That's my opinion on this. Now I want to know what you think about this. Are you excited for An Evening with Silk Sonic? Did you have Leave the Door Open on repeat? What you think about Skate? And what are your expectations for this thing? Let me know in the comments down below. If you watched this video to the end and liked it, and you want to stay up to date with all current hip-hop events and releases, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, hit that like button, and go follow my social media and blog down in the description. It really helps me out. Until the next one, y'all have an incredible day, and y'all take care.